Welcome back to Economics Learning. Today we discuss traditional free trade theory and experience of underdeveloping countries. Earlier we presented the role of new classical trade theory in the economic growth. But particularly it has been seen that the experience of lower developing countries regarding foreign trade has not been very much pleasant. To analyze it, we present the assumption of new classical trade theory and then they will be analyzed critically. The productive resources of all trading countries are fixed and their quality of remains same. Moreover, there is no international mobility of labor and all resources are fully employed. According to classical theory, the technology remains fixed, while according to HO theory, technology remains the same and it is easily available to all the countries. Again, the taste of the consumer remain the same. There exists perfect competition in the country and factors are mobile from one industry to another industry. Moreover, there is either risk from nor uncertainty. At international level, prices are determined by the forces of demand and supply, and there is no role of governments in world trade. The volume of trade remains balanced, and each economy adjusts easily to changes in the world economy. The gain occurred from trade are also beneficial for the people. Now we criticize them on the basis of experience of developing countries. First one is trade and resource growth. North-south models of unequal trade. According to new classical trade theory, the resources of the country remain the same. Production function are homogeneous, technology and factors are fully utilized and factors are not mobile at the world level. But in the present time, rapid changes are occurring and quantity and quality of factor do not remain the same. Again, at the world level, the change in are occurring both in capital accumulation and human resources development. As a result, the growth of productive resources is taking place unevenly. Thus, when in the world the situation regarding physical capital, entrepreneurial abilities, scientific efficiency, improvement in level manpower and research and development for technical change differ all over the world. The quantities of resources and comparative advantage will not remain the same. This has been observed through product cycle theory of trade. This theory has been discussed in earlier. This theory shows that with the passage of time, new technologies and techniques of production are employed, there are chances that the comparative advantages of the principal country could not be maintained. Again, it has been observed that the rich countries have better resources, technology, entrepreneur, and skilled labor. They specialize in the products which use them more intensively. As a result, they get favorable circumstances regarding further incentives and development as in the country on the basis of their wealth. Rich men get more wealth, intelligence, and skill. The same things happen in the case of developing countries which are getting rich and rich. As a result, world trade is becoming responsible for widening and the gap between developing countries and underdeveloping countries. On the other side, there is an abundance of unskilled labor in south underdeveloping countries and lower developing countries. They are specializing in the products which use these labor more intensively, but at the international level the demand for these goods is limited and the terms of trade are going against them. Consequently, the world trade is not benefiting them as their comparative advantage is taking them to further backwardness. They will go on producing the goods produced with unskilled labor. Hence, they will remain deprived of capital, technology, entrepreneur, and skill. The static type of efficiency ultimately leads to dynamic type of efficiency. In this way, such a process will set in whereby world trading relation will benefit the countries which already possess a lot, and the destiny of the lower developing countries will be further backwardness and poverty. Therefore, nowadays the economists are replacing the static neoclassical with the dynamic theories of trade and development, which are given the name of North-South trade models. According to these models, the North developing countries on the basis of initial more wealth get more economies and profits by producing manufactured because of external economies and increase the monopolistic power. The rate of growth in North gets higher and higher. This leads to competitiveness of North over the South poor countries, where the rate of growth remains poor. If the higher elasticity of demand for manufacture, along with flight of the capital from poor to rich countries, are also included, the gains occurred by lower developing countries due to world trade further shrink. Keeping in view this better factor, Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and China attempted effectively to convert their unskilled manpower economies into skilled manpower economies and capital intensive industries. They got success, but not all the developing countries. After new classical trade theory, Mitchell Porter has presented a model of international trade with the name of the competitive superiority of nations, where he has differentiated between basic and advanced factors. He says that the new classical trade theory is applicable in case of unskilled labor and less developed physical resources, while the advanced factor as specific skill knowledge base resources which are determined by the public and private research institute, universities and association of advanced industries and hardly entertained by new classical theory. Second one is unemployment resources under utilization and went for surplus theory of trade. New classical theory is based upon fuller utilization of resources and full employment, but the unemployment and underemployment of the developing countries contradict this theory. Therefore, if unemployment exists in developing countries, it means that in these countries our production of these goods can be increased at zero or very low cost, which could be exported. It means that the country which is producing anywhere in the PPC production possibility curve can produce on the any point of the PPC by the enhancing its productive capacity. It is reminded that this concept was firstly presented by an economist from the Burma in this theory of the went for surplus. As he said that before trade, the resources of the country are not fully used. When trade starts, more production can be produced for exportation by utilization and unemployed labor and land. In this way, the lower developing countries can boost the production of the primary goods and can import industrial goods against them. In this way, the level of domestic consumption of the primary goods remains the same. A poor country could be able to import manufactured goods, exporting the surplus primary goods which have been produced with surplus labor. But it has been observed that such institution has benefited the foreign rulers and investors rather the countrymen. Moreover, this led to grow the export sector which remained surrounded by poverty and adversity. As a result, no structural changes could be occurred. Third one is international factor mobility. The new classical theory is associated with perfect competition and immobility of capital at the international level. But since at the last 2 decades, the rising role of is becoming responsible for mobility of capital and technology at international level. As an international companies like IBM, Ford, Exxon, Philips, Sony, Hitachi, British Petroleum, National and Pepsi Cola have internationalized their products. This has complicated. The gains occurred from world trade. The skill and capital transfer have attained immense importance in world trading relations. These transnational immense corporations change the price they like against their products and technologies. As a result, the resources are being shifted from underdeveloping countries to developing countries. The economists, doctor, engineer, and scientists of underdeveloping countries are highly attracted by developing countries, which is given the name of brain drain. In such states of the affairs of new classical theory of trade will not be applicable in the case of lower developing countries. Fourth one is greater availability of technology. In the present days, the very rapid technology changes are occurring all over the world. Such changes are vastly affecting the export from lower developing countries. This has also led to create the substitutes of primary export of lower developing countries as nylon in place of cotton, polyester in place of wool. As a result, the share of the primary exports of the underdeveloping country decreasing as from 1915 to 1918 is the international consumption of the rubber. Thus, the share of national rubber decreased from 62% to 28%, while that of cotton decreased from 48 41% to 29%. Those when the attached low income and price elasticities of demand and policy of the greater protection with technical substitution, we find the failure of the new classical trade theory. But some experts of the view that the technologies which have been discovered by the North have been availed by the NIC. These countries import the quality of their products by the route of the mentioned by the product cycle theory. Hence, increase their exports of appreciability. Again, Malaysia, China, Korea, and Taiwan, in the presence of the relative lower wages, moved from the low technology production to higher technology production. If on one side have helped by the outflow capital and technologies, on the other side they have influenced the states of the consumer through the advertisements and the media. As it is said that 90% of the advertisement cost in developing countries have been financed by the Western firms which are selling their products in local markets. Such action is also shifting resources from lower developing countries to developing countries. First one is internal factor mobility and perfect competition. According to new classical trade theory, the economies easily adjust their with prices changes at world level, but practically it is very difficult to reallocate resources from one industry to the other industry, particularly in developing countries where production structures are rigid and mobility of the labor is not so easy, where as the structurists are of the view that there exists rigidity in the supply of the goods in lower developing countries, difficult to get intermediate goods, money and capital markets are fragmented, difficult to get foreign exchange, and system of transportation is defective. Under such situation, world trading will not take place as it has been suggested by the new classical. Moreover, if the underdeveloping countries are in the position to produce the textile, shoes, supporting goods, bags, and carpets cheaper with the help of their cheaper labor, they have to face a lot of tariff and non-tariff barriers in the market of developing countries. As a result, the product of lower developing countries fail to enter the market of developing countries. At the years of 2001, it was estimated by the UN that due to the such restriction of the lower developing countries are suffering the loss of $1 billion per year. In this context, the developing countries are of the view that if they do not restrict the cheaper exports from the lower developing country, it will create unemployment in developing countries. But now the World Trade Organization era has set in, and it is hoped that such trade barriers will be eliminated and the export from lower developing countries could enter the market of developing countries and new classical trade theory would become applicable. In addition to perfect mobility of factors of production whose costs are too higher, are the new classical theory assumed the operations of the diminishing return and constant return to the scale. But practically, the big firms following the policy of the price leadership outcompete the small firms. They became monopolists and work under increasing return to scale. As the result, their cost decrease for the larger level of output when they are also availing external economies. Those when we find monopolistic and oligopolistic behavior when these firms have discriminated in their products furnished with internal and external economies and intra-industry trade. The new classical theory would hardly be applicable. The new classical theory excluded the risk and uncertainty, but historically we find that terms of trade have been going against lower developing countries. Hence, it be risky for the underdeveloping countries to promote their export industry, those the foreign exchange earning will be uncertain if they depend upon some export sector for their growth. 6.1 is the role of governments in trade. According to new classical trade theory, the role of governments in connection with trading activities remains limited. But due to limited role of government, such economic situation is emerging that some region supersede while other remain neglected. It remains that the gains from growth are unevenly distributed. This situation can be improved with the help of governments, legislation, taxation, transfer, payment subsidies, provision of social services, and the regional development program. As a result, the gains from trade will be spread to all the segments of the economy, but for such all an effective role of governments is required as a marvelous export performance of Japan, Korea and China is also attributed to the role of governments planning, provision of infrastructure, industrial policy and incentive to the exporter. The governments, with the help of different instruments of the commercial policy like tariff quota and subsidies, can influence the world price as the governments of developing countries have been doing so. Moreover, the also influence world trading mechanism through their malpractice, but the world trade we do not have any international governments or super agency which would protect the interest of small and weaker parties. Thus, under such circumstances, the world trade would hardly assist in economic growth. 7 months is balanced trade and international trade, international price adjustment. The new classical theory is of the view that the terms of trade bring adjustment in demand and supply of the exportable and importable. As a result, the value of exports become equal to the value of imports. Thus, when trade is balanced and there is no capital movement, no balance of payment issue will arise in pure trade theory. But during 1918 and 1999, each country of the world had faced the challenging issues of the balance of payment deficit, particularly in the case of lower developing countries whose terms of trade went against them. The demand for exports of these countries was very low and they were facing serious deficit in the balance of payment. As a result, their foreign exchange reserves went to the lowest and they had to borrow from IMF under the strict conditionalities. Thus, we find that free trade theories have led to the increase to problems of lower developing countries. Last one is the link of the trade gains. The new classical theory ignores this fact that who will gain from trade, the local, the foreigner of the both, and how much to whom. The Foreigners have invested in the many sectors of Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Against such exploration of oil and gas, they not only pay limited royalties to the governments but also given subsistence wages to the local laborers. The sectors where the foreign have invested are under the clutches of the capital incentive technologies. This state of affairs is promoting social and economic dualism which is benefiting the foreigner while the local people remain deprived of the export driven growth. Again, the transferring the resources from underdeveloping countries to developing countries. Therefore, in the order to see the effects of the trade on growth, we will have to see that how much share goes to the foreign and how much to the local foreign production. The above discussion show that new classical model of free trade did not lead to the export sectors of underdeveloping countries as an engine of the economic growth. Rather, trade increased the gulf between the rich and the poor countries of the world. Therefore, so many experts are of this view that the developing countries should trade amongst themselves, which is given the name of the South cooperation rather than going to for the world trade. Moreover, if the underdeveloping countries follow the same pattern which has been adopted by the South Asian countries like Korea, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Hong Kong, China, and Singapore, their levels of manufactured goods and exports will increase. But for this, they will have to develop their human resources and encouraging foreign investment. In addition to this, if the developing countries from regional trading blocs or regional trade association, they can get the advantages from regional trade. Here, their exports may play an important role in their growth of exports may become an engine of the growth. Thanks for watching.